Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, friends. Good day. Good day, good day, good day. Hi there. My name is Nicole, and I am your psychospiritual practitioner. And today we're going to go over this mask. We wear masks all the time, and sometimes we don't realize how often we wear masks. So, for the next 100 days, we're going to do something that most people do not want to do their whole entire lives, and that is we're going to unmask these things that we are going through. Because whether you know it or not, you have been wearing this mask for a very, very long time. So not just one, but we wear multiple masks all the time. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. Can you hear me? Please let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Let me know if you can hear me, please. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Thank you. Okay. So, what I wanted to do today was to go over the caregiving mask because that is one that us as a lot of women, we wear all the time and we don't even realize that we're doing it. So sometimes like those identities that we wear are the strong one, the fixer, the people pleaser, the caregiver is one that is actually near and dear to me. And sometimes they may look like emotions, sometimes they look like numbness, anger, overwhelm, sometimes silence. And sometimes they look like things we tell ourselves just to kind of get through the day. But here's the truth, these masks are not random, they are intelligent. I call them intelligent, honestly, because I feel like they serve their purpose as we are moving through our lives. And we create them all the time. So I wanted to talk about the caregiver today because of the fact that the caregiver mask is something that I wore for years and not really understanding how that mask really got there. And the biggest way I wore this mask is from in 2020 when my husband was diagnosed with cancer and I became his caregiver. So on the outside, of course, everything looks beautiful, but on the inside, there's so much more happening to you that people don't even realize. Like, on the outside, it may look like you're taking care of somebody and you're doing it well and you're doing it beautifully and, all of those different things. But inside, there's resentment and sadness and fear and even moments of depression that we don't even realize that we are moving through. So I started to really dig deeper into my emotions and meditation. And this is where all of this kind of came from. I started to understand that there were definitely identities that us as women and also men wear, and we just do not even realize that we're wearing them. So today, as I said, I wanted to talk about the caregiver mask because this one is near and dear to me. So what I did was created 10 pillars of the unmasking. So the first one is basically the definition. So it basically, you talking about um, the caregiver. So when it comes to the definition of this mask, it's really about prioritizing others at the expense of yourself. So also I want to talk about the origin. So it's the definition, the origin of where the mask came from, the emotions, and as you can see, these are colored coded. So like the red ones are for emotions, the purple ones are for feelings, the green is for the stories that we tell ourselves, and then there's the payoff, and then there's also actually what it is that we need underneath of it, and then there's the body. So these are the 10 pillars that I'm talking about. Then there is the body part where these things are stored physically inside of the body. And then I also like to talk about one of my favorites, which is soul contracts. Like, what soul lesson are you here to learn from this particular mask? So then what we're going to do is absolutely the unmasking. So when we kind of move through the definition, So caregiver can mean a lot of different things. It can be about caring for other people, being too nice, different things like that. And for me, it was really about caring for other people. That's, like I said, what really kind of made me really get into deep into emotions, deep into meditation, deep into understanding ourselves on a more spiritual level and not necessarily just the surface level that we usually kind of move through. And then, so the origin, so this is like where it was formed. So most of caregiving is formed out of survival and responsibility and learned worth. Another thing is the emotion. So as you can see on my face, the emotions are grief is one of the biggest emotions from this. And I don't think people realize that even as a caregiver, you go through grief. And then there's also what I have here. I have suppressed anger. And I'm sorry because my thing is going the other way. But I have suppressed anger because what happens is during the caregiving process, as a caregiver, you're really not the focal point of what's happening. Everybody, when they ask about you, ask about the person that you're caring for, and you're kind of in the background. You're really not the focal point, which is fine. But I don't care if you're human, you're going to feel these emotions and you're going to feel resentment because I felt it all. I felt exhausted. I felt the fear of looking at my husband's immortality because you don't know what's going to happen when you hear cancer. And just all of those different emotions of sadness. Like he was going through chemo when COVID was had hit. So at that point, I couldn't go with him to help him or anything like that. We had to kind of be apart. So the good thing about all of that is that we had FaceTime. But at one point, he actually coded, and it was definitely a scary thing because they kind of hung up the phone on me and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of gives you all of these different emotions. And a big one for me was resentment because this kind of really changed the trajectory of our lives. And you don't realize how these things can truly change your whole life in so many ways. And that was like one of the biggest things was just the change in myself. And I always say that my husband was my catalyst because if it was not for what he went through, I wouldn't be here talking to you all. So that's one thing that I actually take away from that. And I know it's not easy to go through what he was going through. So I'll never negate what he went through, but I'm always talking about the caregiver because I know that the caregiver um, does things that are noble and different things like that. But there are emotions and different things that I went through. And I know a lot of them hold those things in and they really don't talk about it. So that was the whole point of this. But as you can see, those are some of the different emotions that us as wearing the caregiver mask, we kind of wear. The green is for the story, like the story behind it. So the story that you tell yourself. So if you can see, it says, I'm fine. We tell ourselves that all the time. I got it. Sorry, it's on this side. And so many different things that we actually tell ourselves. We tell ourselves everything's going to be good. We're going to get through it. And though you are going to get through it. But the thing is that, sometimes it is a really, really hard thing to actually go through. So when it comes to the caregiver mask, there are a lot of underlying things that actually go with this particular mask that I have on. One of the things is you feel powerless. Powerless is a big thing. You feel unimportant. That's another big thing. I mean, there's so many things that we could go down the list of what it is that you feel when you are moving through these particular this particular mask anyway. Like for me, it was really definitely the resentment, the anxiety, the exhaustion, the fear, the sadness, the guilt, for, you know, wanting to really tap into myself. That was a bigger thing. Like I was really, it was hard to kind of say how I feel as a caregiver at that time because it really wasn't about me. So I had to kind of change the perspective of that and actually go internal and figure out these things myself. So that's what some of the emotions that I actually went through. And as far as pillar number 4, which is the feelings, as you can see on my face, some of those things are like you feel responsible for everything. Like you have to do everything. You can't fall apart. That was a big thing for me. I had to hold it together not only for him and myself, but I had to hold it together for my kids and our kids, I'm sorry, and, other people around us. And it was like we were in this isolation phase at that point in time. And that's fine. But you also, feelings come from that. Like you feel alone. And you know what? The biggest thing was I felt alone even when I was surrounded by multiple people. Because your mind is always going and it's going and it's going. And you're trying to figure out how to make things right for him, how to make sure that this person has it. And it's not even necessarily like the caregiver mask. It's not even necessarily when somebody is sick. It's our children. Like we feel that we have to take care of our children. And that could be one of those things that the origin comes from when you were younger. And maybe, like for me, my mom was there, but she wasn't there. And I think one of the biggest things that I always said about myself when it came to my kids was that um, I wanted to make sure that I was there for them so much. And sometimes, like, you don't even realize, like, you have to truly set your boundaries. You have to kind of, you know, set your boundaries even with your own family, with your kids and different things like that. And I was not good with those type of things. So this is why this mask held on to me so deeply. And some of the other things I felt was I felt like I didn't exist outside of what others like in other people's lives, because it was just so much going on in my own. I felt like no one really saw me at that time. And that's, like I said, these are internal things that I was feeling. These were things um, that my inner thoughts were having that I could not really tell people. I could tell a few people that I felt like I could trust, but for the most part, it was hard for me to say things like that. And as caregivers, we're ashamed to feel these type of ways, but it is a true thing that caregivers do feel those type of things, those ways, and the resentment and all of those different things. And one of the core feelings that I had to actually understand was that I mattered too, but I only felt like I mattered when I was needed. And, when somebody's going through cancer or somebody's going through something, or even if it's your kids, like you want to be there as much as you want, like as they need you to be. But what I have learned is that sometimes you have to set your boundaries. And so as far as the green, like those are the stories that we tell ourselves. So we tell ourselves things like I'm the strong one, so we have to continue. They need me. Another one is I'll rest later. If I don't do it, it won't get done. Like I'm sure we say that a lot with our children and different things like that, where we're like, okay, you know, we ask them to do something and then it doesn't get done. And then we're like, okay, well, maybe I just do it myself and get it done the right way. Um, and then you don't want to be a burden on other people. And the other thing is we kind of tell ourselves as caregiver, this is just who I am. But the hidden story was my worth is tied to so much. It's like our worth is tied to so much that we actually give. And our worth should be tied to something much deeper. So that was like one of the things that I went through as far as the story part. So the next thing was the payoff. So the payoff means what this mask has been giving you. And this is where I say this is intelligence. This is the intelligence of this the mask that we wear. And this is my whole point of the mask series, is to kind of give people that that awareness of the mask that we actually wear. So this mask, the caregiver mask, gives a sense of purpose. Like when you are caregiving somebody, whether it's somebody that's ill, whether it's your family, your friends, like you're always that person that they kind of go to. Um, it gives you that sense of purpose, that sense of validation. Like, you hear things like you're amazing, and little things like, I don't know what I would do without you. Those things make you feel good and make you feel like you want to be needed. And that is another mask that we're going to go through as well, is the one where you have to feel like you're needed. This mask also gives you like control. Can you hear me now? Can anybody hear me now? Can somebody let me know if they can hear me? Okay, thank you, Michelle. All right, cool. Thank you, Jordan, for letting me know that you couldn't hear me. Thank you, I appreciate that. Um, so I'll go back to the whole, you know, being able to release these emotions like through meditation. Like it really helped me really understand the awareness of these emotions, where they are in the body. Um, like I really was able to dive deeper into them, and I'm always one of those ones that I love the deepness of things. I do not really. I like to. I'm not a surface level person. I'm always trying to figure out how I can be better so that I can help other people also understand their different masks and what they're going through, so that they can actually be better for themselves as well. So that is what I gathered from the payoff. Like these are just some things that I don't think you want to skip past. Like, of course, the sense of purpose. Like this mask really makes you feel like there's a sense of purpose. There's validation. Like there's control. And then you avoid the emotions and different things like that. And you just have a feeling of being needed, which can feel like love, but sometimes it like you have to learn how to set your boundaries with that. Um, and this is why it's kind of hard to release, because of that. So the next pillar is number 7, and it's actually what you need underneath of that. So underneath of the caregiving mask, um, it's you want to be supported without earning it. You want to rest without guilt. You want to be seen for who you are and not just about what you do. Your emotional safety is, you want to be able to express your frustrations. And that is absolutely the best thing that my husband was, even though he was going through things, I was actually able to talk to him and him actually listen and really take in what I was saying and not actually feel any judgment about it. So if I said, I had a meditation where, it showed me that I had resentment, not necessarily to him, but to the experience. And now that I look back on the caregiving mask, like it was literally one of the best things that has happened to me soul wise, because it elevated my understanding of so many more pieces within our the mask, or our emotions, our dense emotions. And like I said, I call them dense emotions because they're heavy. They make you feel heavy. So when you are sad, you feel heavy. When you are angry, you feel like you are heavy and you feel hot and all of those things. So those are, I call them dense emotions instead of negative emotions. So, but another couple of things that you actually need as a caregiver is, boundaries that protect your energy. This was one of the biggest things that I wrestle with, even now sometimes. But boundaries to protect your energy is heavy because that one is truly like a heavy one, because a lot of times we don't set our boundaries. A lot of times we allow people to say or do things and not really say anything because we don't want the friction. But sometimes, fuck that, we need the friction. Like it's okay to have that friction sometimes. You have to set your boundaries, because if you don't, it'll just stay in your body until you burst or you feel like you got to just say something. And it just can be very heavy. So boundaries are really, really, really important, especially with this mask, because when you are a caregiver, your boundaries most times go out the window. Like I've noticed, I've had a lot of people that I know who are caregivers, especially us as women. We are, nurturers anyway. So when we are nurturers, it's hard for us to set our boundaries. Like if I used to see my daughter, one of my daughters crying, and I have disciplined them or I said something to them, you know how hard that is to just kind of be like, oh no, come here, But sometimes you do have to set those boundaries. And I'm still working on those type of things. I'm still working on setting boundaries with the people that I love. But I think I'm doing a lot better than what I did when I first started, as a mom or as a wife. I'm definitely a different person now than I was 10 years ago, or even 3 to 2 years ago. I'm definitely a different person. So, and then another thing that we need is space to exist. Ugh, that's a heavy one too. Space to exist without performing a role. What I did when we were going through the cancer and the caregiving experience, I ended up putting this room that you see behind me. I had this built just so I could come down here and meditate or draw or talk it out with myself or whatever have you, whatever I needed to do, create anything. I just would come down here for the time and just chill out, and I would sit here a lot and meditate. Meditation was absolutely heavy for me. And I would just really kind of sit in this space, and this was my place of kind of worship. This was my place to kind of be me type thing. So when it comes to the space, you have to have a space to be able to exist, because if you don't, you can get overwhelmed and you can get angry and you can feel all of these things. But the core need of all of this is you need to feel worthy, even when you're not giving. that is the biggest part. So when I go to the pillar number 8, which is the body, this means where do you carry this physically? So the caregiver often carries this in their shoulders because there is so much stress, so much anxiety, so many things going on because you're holding the weight of everything. We also hold it in our chest, in our heart space, like the emotional heaviness, the grief, all of that is like right up in here. We hold that right here. Thank you, Jordan, for the rose. And all of that pressure, all of that stuff is like, and for us as women, and the reason why I like to talk about like it being in the body is because we don't even realize that these heavy emotions are kind of what physically the emotions, and I'm not going to say emotions by themselves, but emotions are definitely, I'm going to say dense emotions are definitely where we hold on to breast cancer, heart attacks, different things like that people don't even realize that emotions, holding on to them so tightly and so much and not getting them out, it kind of sits in those spaces. And this is where breast cancer and heart disease and so many other things can start to manifest in that area. Even when it comes to your nervous system, your lower back, because like that was another thing that used to hurt on me a little bit because of the lack of support. Like we don't even realize like where all of these different things are being held as a caregiver. And another thing is your nervous system. Oh my gosh, that is like one of the biggest things. Like this is where anxiety, all of that, like people don't even realize anxiety, you go here, this is where ulcers and IBS and different things like that, when we hold on to that anxiety and that nervousness inside of our bellies and inside of our nervous system, inside of our down in here in our tummies, like all of that sits right there. And then we get those different dis-eases and emotions are really heavy. They really impact us in so many ways. Dense emotions, I'm going to say that. Dense emotion impact us in many, many ways that we don't even realize is that it's happening. So some of the things that you may see is tension you can't release, or fatigue that feels deeper than physical, or shallow breathing is another one that is actually big too. So those are some of the things that this particular mask can hold, those things, those emotions and different things inside of the body. One of my favorite things to talk about is pillar number 9, the soul contractual agreement that we have with either that particular person within ourselves. This is basically what we came here to learn about that. This right here, oh my gosh, I learned so much about becoming a caregiver. So what I've learned is that my soul came here to understand that love does not require sacrifice. That's number 1. Number 2 is that worth is not earned through over giving, because sometimes we can over give. And I also learned that support is safe to receive. Sometimes we are in this era, we can do it ourselves. Like we don't want any help. We don't want this. We don't want that. It's okay to receive support. It is absolutely okay to receive that support. And also understanding that boundaries are not rejection. They are self-honored. And I think that is another thing that we don't understand. When we set those boundaries and we have that self-love with ourselves, because that is truly what I learned from this particular mask. I learned self. I learned how to love myself. I learned how to set those boundaries. I learned how to, say no. And that's a lot of things that we do not do sometimes. We don't know how to say no. We don't know how to just, really take in help. We don't know how to um, understand that love is not, does not require sacrificing. So those are some of the things as far as the soul contractual agreement that I have learned. I'm trying to figure out if there are more. I'm trying to figure out, because there were more soul contractual agreements that I learned. One of the main things is basically that I learned how to love on me. That was one of the biggest things that I learned through this. How to love on Nicole. How to really sit with Nicole. I can, at first, I could never take myself right out to eat by myself. Now I can just sit, chill. It doesn't even matter. I'm okay with it. I don't care who sees. This right here is self-care. I have on a whole mask. Nobody sees my face. And I know, people around me probably think it's weird or whatever. But there's a reason for this mask. I'm not just doing this to just do things. I'm doing this to help other people understand what this mask can do to you or for you, and also what I've learned from this particular experience. This is just one mask that I hold near and dear to my heart. So I've learned so much. I've learned that the best relationship from caregiving, I learned that the best relationship is the relationship between you and you. And when that one is put together, nobody can take that apart. And I try to, I also learned that you have to have mind and heart coherence. You have to learn how to not always listen with your heart, but also listen with this mind that we have. And that's another thing that we kind of, especially as women, one of the things we do is we hold on to different things. We love to feel with our heart, but men are very mind analytical. But for me, I always tell my daughters this too. Make sure that you have mind heart coherence. And what I mean by mind heart coherence is that you're able to use both. You're able to use your logic, and you're also able to use your heart. And that is one of the biggest things that I love about this caregiver mask. It really showed me how to really use that mind heart coherence. And it really showed me how to love myself first. Because as they always say, you can't pour from an empty cup. And, I used to look at that statement and really think, what are they talking about? But I get it now. You have to make sure that your cup is overflowing before you're actually able to take care of someone else. And that was definitely a significant piece that I've learned through this particular mask. So this is why, to me, the soul contractual agreement that I have between my husband, even when it comes to my daughter, she's had her things that she's also went through. And the good thing about her is she's she's able to compartmentalize a lot of things. I really admire her strength, her desire to still laugh, to still smile, even through the things that she's actually going through. And I don't even think she knows that I feel that way, but I admire her. I've learned from her as well, as she's walking through what she's going through with lupus and different things like that. She still carries this smile about her. She still carries this sense of pride and love for herself, and she knows how to go lay down, and she knows how to rest when needed. And I truly admire that about her. If she don't feel good, she gonna be like, bye-bye, y'all. I'm going to go lay down. And that is one of the best things that I get from her. I don't think she understands how much she kind of helps me understand that part of me too when it comes to boundaries. So she helps me with that as well. But when it comes to the soul contractual agreement, that is one of my biggest things. I'm always trying to figure out what the lesson is through that particular experience that you're going through. So when it comes to the caregiving part, I understand it's for the person, but also there is a bigger piece to this for the self, for the person that's actually caregiving for that person. So I do really hold this one near and dear to my heart. So the last pillar, which is pillar number 10, is how to release this. Releasing the caregiver mask is not about becoming cold or distant. It's truly about becoming whole. And it starts with awareness, like being aware of what it is that you're going through, being aware of the emotions, being aware of, what it is that is happening around you. Am I giving from love or am I giving from obligation is a big thing. Am I giving from love or am I giving from obligation? When you kind of understand that, that is like a question that you can ask yourself in that moment. If you are a caregiver for anybody, even if it's like your kids or whatever have you, you really have to think about it. Like, are you giving from love or are you giving from obligation? And if you're giving from obligation, just kind of step back a little bit. Step back a little bit. Become aware of that. And just take a little time to kind of, a little time to yourself to kind of breathe and allow those feelings to be felt, because that is a problem that we have also. We do not take the time to feel our feelings. We do not take the time to address our feelings. We kind of push them aside and allow them to just be. And sometimes we actually have to address those things. We have to write it out. You can do a video of yourself. You can do a memo of listening to yourself. I mean, all kinds of different things that there is that you can do to get this out. One of the biggest things for me, thanks Bailey for the rose. One of the biggest things for me was I was an avid softball player. And one of the things that I did was, well, my husband was moved through cancer and I was moved through caregiving, and the whole house was kind of just in this dark, dense space. One of the things that I did was I went and bought a T-ball stand. I went and bought some balls, and I went and bought a bat. And I went in the backyard and I would hit that freaking ball so hard. And it would just feel like a relief, a big, huge relief from that time, from what was happening inside of our house, what was happening to my husband, what was happening to our family. It was just one of those things where I was actually able to truly release. And so I will always tell you to do things like that. Another thing is micro boundaries is another thing that you could do. Practice things like, not right now. That's a phrase. I can't take that on today. That's a big one. I cannot take that on today. Today is not the day for me to do that. I cannot take that on today. And another thing is, I need a moment. I need a moment. Oh my gosh. Do you know what that feels like to just say, I need a moment, give me a moment, to tell somebody that is like, where so many things are going on in our lives, just to be like, I need a moment right now. That right there is another really freeing type of thing that you can do. Another thing is receiving something. Let someone help you without fixing how they do it. We are so set on how we like to do things, and I am one of those people. Like, if I know that I'm gonna, do something the way that I want to do it, but I know if I get somebody else to do it, they're not going to do it the same way. Let them do it. Let them help you. Let them help you. That is something that I understood from this particular mask. Another thing was emotional honesty, and we talked about that earlier. Allow resentment, fatigue, frustration. Allow all of that to surface without judgment. Without judgment. Because emotions, like, people think emotions are here to harm us. They are triggers. They are messengers for us to kind of tap into why you're feeling that way. What's going on inside right now? What's happening? Like, I mean, I've learned to become friends with my emotions and the ways that I'm feeling. So that is another way of kind of becoming whole. Another one is identity shifts. I am allowed to exist without being needed. It's okay. Like, we just have this thing of wanting to be needed, wanting to just do things for so many people, not realizing that our inner guidance system is basically saying, no, don't do it. Like, we've already done enough today. We've already done enough. So, yes, identity shifts is another way of doing it. So, with that, I wanted to kind of close as the caregiver in you. I want you to understand that this mask is not the problem. This version of you believes you have to lose yourself to be loved, and that is just not a true thing. So, what we are going to do right now is to unmask this particular mask. So, we are now unmasking the caregiver. So, that is us unmasking the caregiver. So I thank you all for joining, and I appreciate this. And tomorrow will be another one. I'm doing 100 days of unmasking. Tomorrow we will be talking about the people pleaser. The people pleaser is another thing that's kind of has some similarities to the caregiver, but just a little bit different. So tomorrow will be about the people pleaser. So if there are any questions or anything, I am here to answer. If not, I truly, truly appreciate it. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a good day.